I never believed chance encounters could change the course of a life, until that afternoon in the park. It was a Saturday, late summer, the kind of day when the air felt heavy with the warmth of the sun, but carried just enough breeze to remind you autumn was waiting. I had dropped by the park with nothing in mind but wasting time. A packet of chips in one hand, a bottle of soda in the other. Just a man of 25 with nowhere important to be. I sat on a worn bench, watching families sprawl across the grass, lovers strolling hand in hand, children chasing bubbles that vanished before they could pop them. I felt invisible in the middle of it all, almost like a spectator in a play where everyone else knew their role. That's when she came. Tiny footsteps pattering across the gravel. A little girl, maybe 3 years old, with a head of golden curls bouncing as she walked. Her eyes were wide, curious, filled with the kind of courage only children carry. She stopped right in front of me, tilted her head, and pointed at the bag of chips. "Can I have one?" Her voice was small, but it cracked through the wall of indifference I'd built around myself. I laughed before I could help it. "Sure." I offered her the bag, and she dipped her tiny hand inside, fishing out one crisp like it was treasure. She smiled, then scampered off. Moments later, I saw her running back toward a woman sitting beneath an oak tree. The woman stood, worried, scanning the park until her eyes found me. And when they did, I felt a jolt run through me. She was beautiful, not in the polished magazine cover way, but in a way that was raw, real, and arresting. Dark hair fell past her shoulders, a simple summer dress fluttered around her knees, and in her eyes there was both strength and exhaustion. She held the little girl's hand and approached me cautiously. "Did she bother you?" she asked, her voice gentle yet edged with concern. "Not at all," I said, smiling at the girl. "She just wanted a chip." The woman's face softened. She introduced herself, Charlene, and her daughter, Emily. For a few minutes we exchanged polite words, nothing special. But something lingered in the air, like the beginning of a melody I didn't yet recognize. We parted that day, but life has a strange way of weaving threads tighter. Over the next weeks, I kept returning to that same park, and almost always, Charlene and Emily were there. At first, I told myself it was coincidence, but soon I knew I was lying. I wanted to see them, needed to. Emily would run to me with the abandon of a child who had already decided I was safe. Charlene and I would talk, at first about little things. The weather, Emily's favorite cartoons, the way the city never truly sleeps. But slowly, layers peeled away. She told me about her work, her exhaustion, her quiet dreams, and I listened more intently than I'd ever listened to anyone. And then one day she told me about him. Her ex-husband, the man who had promised her forever, only to shatter it with betrayal. I could hear the pain in her voice, though she tried to hide it. She had been cheated on, abandoned with a daughter to raise, forced to rebuild from ashes she hadn't set fire to. That night, when I left the park, I couldn't sleep. Her story kept replaying in my head. I imagined her lying awake too, staring at the ceiling, carrying the weight of a world she didn't deserve. I began to see her differently, not just as a woman I was drawn to, but as someone fighting battles every single day. And I wondered if I could be part of her healing. Our bond deepened with each meeting. I noticed the way her laughter hesitated as though afraid to bloom. I noticed how Emily would cling to her, and how Charlene's eyes softened every time she whispered, "It's okay, baby." I noticed how she avoided talking about herself too much, like her story wasn't worth telling. But to me, she was worth everything. And something changed in me. I began to imagine futures instead of drifting through days. I thought about Sunday mornings with coffee and laughter, about Emily's drawings taped to the fridge, about Charlene's hand in mine when the world felt too heavy. The more I thought about it, the more I knew. I had fallen for her. It happened on a dusky evening when the park was nearly empty. The sky burned orange and pink, and Emily was chasing butterflies near the swings. Charlene sat beside me on the bench, her shoulders brushing mine. "Sometimes," she said quietly, "I wonder if I'll ever really trust again." Her words cut through me. I turned to her, searching her face, the way her lips trembled, the way her hands twisted in her lap. "Charlene," I said, my voice low but steady, "I don't know what the future holds. I can't erase what he did to you. But I know this. When I look at you, I see more than pain. I see strength. I see a woman who deserves love, not betrayal." And I paused, my heart hammering. "I love you." Her eyes widened. For a moment, silence stretched between us, broken only by Emily's laughter in the distance. My mind screamed with doubts. Was I too soon? Too foolish? But then tears shimmered in her eyes, not of sadness, but something else. She whispered, almost like a confession, "You don't know how long I've waited to hear words like that." The world blurred. For the first time in years, I felt alive, as though every choice, every mistake, every lonely night had led me to this bench, to this woman, to this child chasing butterflies. In that instant, life stopped being a series of empty days. It became a story, ours. And as Emily ran back, climbing onto her mother's lap with giggles and crumbs on her face, I realized I wasn't just in love with Charlene. I was ready to love them both. Because sometimes love doesn't arrive with fireworks or grand gestures. Sometimes it walks up in tiny footsteps, asks for a chip, and changes your life forever.